All right, everyone. Hello, it's 2 o'clock. It's time to start the live farm tour. I am Kay. I'm going to be your guide for today. And we are out here in Fort Laramie, Ohio, where we will be taking you on a barn tour to meet our horses, our donkeys, our cats, maybe our chickens. And we hope you have fun. And I want you to ask all your questions in the comments. Feel free to say hello. I'll be watching for you, and we'll hope to get to all your questions about our horses, our donkeys, and everything here on the farm. So thanks for joining us. If you miss any of the broadcast, you can go back in the event, and you'll be able to watch it from the beginning. And we hope you have fun and get to learn a little bit about our horses, our farm, and what we do out here in Fort Laramie at the Borchers farm. So let's get started. So I am out here by the road where I live, and you're going to see what our farm looks like from the road. So we have these two beautiful big pastures here. There's our house and our barn where the horses live, and over here is another pasture. And this is where our horses hang out in the summer. They're not out there right now because it's a little muddy, and our grass is pretty new, so we can't let them out there all the time or they'll destroy it. And I'll tell you a little bit about that as we walk up the driveway here. So we moved out here. We built this house back in 2016. We moved in about 4 years ago, and at that time we planted all this beautiful grass. So we have about 6 acres of grass here that you see, as well as 10 acres of woods out in the back. And the 6 acres of grass we planted specifically for our horses. And horses eat a specific kind of grass. They'll eat any kind of grass, but we like to give them a specific kind of grass that makes them very healthy and strong. And how that works is, so imagine if you ate only Lucky Charms every morning. Think of all the yummy, sugary goodness in Lucky Charms, like marshmallows. Well, that's okay, but it might make your belly hurt, right? So you can probably eat more cornflakes and not get that belly ache. So that's what we want to do for our horses. We want to make sure they don't get too much rich, yummy grass. We want to make sure they get the healthy, good grass. So out here in our pastures, we grow fescue grass, we grow Kentucky bluegrass, we grow orchard grass and Timothy grass, so a lot of different grasses that are all good for our horses. There's a little bit of clover out here too, and we have about 4 acres total that is fenced in. Now, when we planted all this grass a couple years ago, we had to let it sit for a whole year. It had to grow an entire year before we could put the horses on it. Otherwise, they would have they would tear it out by the roots and it would die. So we had to let it grow for a while. And in the summertime, we let the horses out here a lot of the time. And sometimes in the winter, we let them out too, because they like to run around. And we're going to do that later for you at the end of the live event. We're going to turn them loose. And it's been a few days since they've been out, so they might run around and get a little crazy for you. We're hoping anyhow. Evelyn Poppelman wants to know how many horses we have. And yes, we have to have different kinds of grasses, and I'll tell you why a little bit more in a minute. So Evelyn, we have 2 horses and we have 2 donkeys. We're going to meet them here in a second. And hello from Springboro, James. So we have to plant different kinds of grass, because if the horses eat too much really rich grass, thank you, Holly, for that question. If the horses eat too much rich grass, they get a bellyache. And unlike you and I, horses can't vomit or can't burp. So when they get a bellyache, they can get really, really sick. So we have to be careful about what kind of grass and food we give them, because if they get too much really rich food that might make them hurt and feel bad, they can get really, really sick. So we have to be really careful about what kind of food we give them. Great question. All right, so we're coming up to our barn here. This barn we built in, I think, 2014. It was here before the house, specifically to hang out in, but also to keep our horses in. The horses don't live in the whole thing. They only live in a small part of it, which we'll see here in a minute. But in case your fathers perhaps are watching along with you and are curious, the barn is 40 by 60. And the garage doors are 14 feet tall. And then we have, we put on an extra awning a couple years ago that you'll see when we get out there. Now our horses can get out into our woods. They can get into a vast majority of it. And you can see there's not much out there right now, and that's because they like to eat anything they can find all year round. They're always hungry, and they will run through the woods from time to time, and they like to hang out in the woods. And hey, look, we have a helper today. Everyone say hi to Neil. Neil is my husband, for those of you who don't know. I wanted to mention one more thing about the fence, because another man questioned, along with the size of the barn, we have about 2,500 feet of the white fence, and then the pasture is high tensile electrified fence, which just means it's a really tight wire that's electrified, and we put that around the woods because it's a little bit less expensive. So let's head into the barn. First, everyone say hi to Carl. Carl is our stone Sasquatch. He's been with us now for about 7 years. He was an anniversary gift, and sometimes he's welcome. He dresses up for the holidays, so keep an eye out for Carl. And here is our barn. We are inside, and somebody is hungry other than Neil, and it is Pickles. So let's talk a little bit about what we see in the barn here. You can see up here, we might get a donkey honk if you're lucky. They're hungry, everyone's hungry. So up here is where we store the horses' food. This is their hay up here, and you can see all the bales in the hay mow there. We call this the hay mow, M-O-W. It looks like mow, like you mow the grass, but it is actually mow, M-O-W. Lila and Roxy are gonna say hi. And over here's the straw, and this is what we use to put down for the horse's bed. And we'll go over and we'll show you the difference between hay and straw. Now the horses get about a bale of hay a day between 2 horses and the donkeys, and so we need about 350 bales of hay a year. So if you picture a big bale wagon, that's about 2 of those a year, or 2.5 of those a year. And our good friends, the Ratemans, usually help us out. So hi, Will, Aubrey, Kenzie, and Emmy. I know you guys are probably watching with either your dad or your grandma. And also to Andy and Holly Schaefer, who've helped us out with some hay in the past. And we have to give a shout out to Lane View Farms, because they provide us with some lovely straw every year. And straw comes from wheat. It's the stalks of wheat, and wheat is what we make bread out of, so it's the leftover there, while hay is dried grass. So we just take the grass that's dried up, like in the pasture, and we put it in bales, and that's what our horses eat in the winter. And you can see up close the difference. So this is the hay. It's green like grass. Thank you to my Barker's Beauty. That's the hay. That's what the horses eat. And this is the straw. This is what they lay in. The horses will kind of gnaw on the straw from time to time, but they really don't eat much of it. They much prefer the hay, which is their grass. The horses also get grain. So in here we have their grain. Right here we have oats. And Addison, to answer your question, that cat in the loft was a gift from your cousin Reagan. He just lives up here. There, he's stuffed. So these are the oats. The horses get the oats, as well as grain. So the grain is sweet and has lots of minerals and vitamins in it. It's really good for the horses. And the oats are a little bit lighter. There's something that the horses get kind of as a treat and just as an extra bit of food that's not quite as rich. Now the donkeys don't get any grain because they are not allowed to get too fat. And when we get to the donkeys, we'll talk about them. Yep, we're gonna go ahead and feed the horses. So here we come. They're gonna wait. Red's gonna wait here by his dish, and Pickles is gonna come over here by his dish. And they are gonna dig right in. They love their grain. It's their favorite thing. Red is even annoyed that I'm talking to him while he's eating, because he loves to eat. He's going to get right in to his grain. Give us a look here, Red. All right. Jamie or Kyle, whoever just asked, yes, there will likely be a doll in the restroom when we get there. Red's going to say hi. The donkeys are going to move around a little bit. They're going to get their grain too, and we're going to talk a little bit about each of the horses here. The donkeys have their own little pen over here, which is pretty darn adorable. And they're sharing some grain in there right now. So I'll show you around the barn a little bit first before we get started. This is the donkey's little pen. It allows them to get away from the horses. The horses are much bigger than them, as you probably have already seen. So they can get in here and the horses can't bother them as much. Up above them live the chickens. The chickens aren't up there right now.
Up there.
And they live here. This is their waterer. So they drink water out of this part. It's heated, so it doesn't freeze in the winter, and they sit up in here. And I think we had some eggs in here earlier today. They're actually down here where the donkeys are eating. We'll get those later. But also up here is Zero. He's one of our barn cats. They have a little nest up here. Zero. See if we can get him to say hello. He's lazy and wants to take a nap, so that's probably a no. And over here we have some of our chickens, and they're hanging out. The chickens are here. Red's eating out of his feeder here, and Pickle's feeder is over here. And Neil is going to get some corn for the chickens so they eat. And we go in and out of this gate right here to, we don't take the horses out of this gate. We only, us humans, walk in and out of this gate. This floor out here is a little bit slippery. Molly, we will answer Natalie's question in a minute about how much the horses weigh. And out here is the horse's water. So each horse drinks between 5 and 10 gallons of water a day. So this time of year in the winter when it's kind of cold, they don't drink nearly as much. They drink maybe 5 gallons, 6 gallons. But in the summer when it's hot or if they're busy and active, they will be drinking up to 10 gallons a day. So clean, fresh water is really important for our horses, just like any other animal or any human. So believe it or not, this is actually pretty clean. You can see down into it. There's actually a heater in there, and that heater keeps the water from freezing because we're in Ohio and it gets cold. And we need the water to stay warm enough to not freeze, so it's about 40 degrees in that water. And the horses can have access at any time. Now you'll notice the chickens are down here, and they are cleaning up what Red drops. Red likes to throw his grain out of the feeder, and the chickens know this, so they gather underneath his feeder and they look for his food. That's Travis Tritt there on the left, the big one. He's one of our roosters, and then one of our hens there on the side. Roxy and Lila are here to say hello. They're getting a little bit of hay to keep them busy while we talk. We're going to meet the donkeys a little bit later, but first we're going to go over here and meet Pickles and see what she's happening, what's happening with her. I will mention this. This is a block of salt. It's pink salt, like you might see in your salt shaker, and the horses like to lick that. It's a treat. It's also good minerals for them, and that just hangs here on the wall, and they can come up to it and lick it whenever they want. So I'm going to turn this over to my cameraman, and we're going to come over here, and we're going to talk.
You flip it so you can be in it. Okay.
Well, I'm going to get a couple tools first. We're going to go and meet the horses.
Hey, Janelle. Chickens eat. We throw them a couple handfuls of corn a day. They'll eat that, and they'll scratch through the straw, and they'll also scratch through the chicken or through the horse poop and eat whatever bugs and whatnot they can find in that. So they don't take too much to feed at all. So.
All right, so we are here with Pickles. Pickles is an Appaloosa. She is a girl, which is a mare. A mare is a female horse. Pickles is probably about 16 years old. We're not really sure exactly how old she is, but generally you can look at a horse's teeth and tell how old they are, and if she's in a good mood, Pickles will let us see her teeth. She's chewing, so it's kind of hard. Let's see your teeth, babe. There's her teeth. See her big front teeth? She has big front teeth like you and I. Horses' teeth never stop growing, so they have to grind up that rough grass, and so their teeth don't never stop growing. And sometimes they have to be filed down so they don't get too long. But you can see her in here eating her grain. Now, as I mentioned, Pickles is an Appaloosa, so that means she has this beautiful spotted coat. She has a white butt with big red spots on it. Other characteristics of an Appaloosa is that you can see the whites of their eyes all the time, so you can see the whites around Pickles' eyes here. That's common. She says hello. They also have a spotted nose and spotted lips. We can get her to get her face out of here. You can see the spots around her lips. And she also has striped hooves, which her hooves are pretty muddy right now. And we'll pick them up here in a minute. But they have striped hooves, and that also makes her an Appaloosa. And that's the breed she is. Like a dog is a golden retriever or a terrier. She's an Appaloosa. So she probably weighs about 1,000 pounds. I think Natalie asked that. She weighs about 1,000 pounds, and that's pretty average for a horse.
Someone's asking why they go have the ropes on while they eat.
Well, so right here is Pickle's halter. That's what we use to pull her head around and make sure we can move her around where we need her to. We'll see her, we'll lead her by that later. We put this rope on so that Pickles doesn't go over here and steal Red's food, because she's the boss. She likes to boss everyone around. And if we don't tie her up like that, she'll go over and steal Red's food. So the horses are really used to being tied, kind of like a dog on a leash, and she'll stand very quietly and pleasantly when she's tied like that. That's not unusual for her. So we leave the rope on normally so she doesn't steal Red's food, but also today so she doesn't leave while we're talking about her. So I want to talk a little bit about the different parts of a horse, and we'll use Pickles as our model here. So we'll start up here. These are Pickle's ears, obviously. This is her cheek, so it's equivalent to this part of your mouth here. You can, of course, see her eyes, and her mouth is in here, busy eating. This is called the poll, P-O-L-L. So the poll is the top of her head. It's where the halter goes across. If she had a bridle on, if we were riding her, that would go across the top of her head here. This is, of course, her neck. A lot of you might know this is called her mane. And this protects her from flies, it keeps the sun off her neck, and it grows. We sometimes trim it, cut it, and of course we have to brush it because it gets a little tangly. This is her shoulder, so it's the equivalent of this part of you here, is right here. This is her shoulder. Where her shoulder blades meet here, this is called her withers, W-I-T-H-E-R-S, withers. And it's kind of one of the main points on a horse where you put the saddle. So this is her withers. You come along here to her back, to her rump. This is her hind end, her butt end.
Dusty rump.
Yes, she's dusty. They like to roll in the dust. I did brush her this morning, but you know, it's a little dusty, a little muddy out. So this is her belly down here. This would be equivalent of right here on all of us. Now, horses' legs and feet are really interesting because they're a lot different than yours and mine. So if we look at Pickle's back end, this kind of looks like what you might think of as our knee, right? But it goes the wrong way, right? It acts more like our elbow. This is actually Pickle's ankle. It's not what we call it on a horse, but it's the equivalent of her ankle. This would be like her foot bone, and horses actually walk on their very tippy toes. So if we pick some of the straw right away from her foot, so you can see it. This right here is Pickle's toe, right there. That's the very edge of her toe. They walk on their toes kind of like a ballerina does. Now, I know that sounds really uncomfortable, but to them it's just normal. So this is the equivalent of her ankle. Her knee is actually right here. If she would pick up her leg, you would see it bend just like our knee would. And on the front, right here, this would be the equivalent, kind of like her wrist. And down here would be the equivalent of our fingers. So it's like she's walking up on her fingers, just like this. It's pretty cool. Now we can actually pick up Pickle's feet, and you can take a look at them.
You want to do that? Or you mean do it?
Pickle's going to give me her foot. She's used to having her foot picked up. I say that. Now she's not going to do it. Come on. Good girl. Good girl. Come on. Come on. Get up. Get up. Here, we'll switch.
We'll switch. See if I can get her to do
Neil
it.
do it. He was.
You can answer a couple questions while I do it. Then.
Yeah. He was having more luck with her earlier today. She's nervous because she's on camera. So this is the bottom. This is her hoof. Now it's got a lot of mud in it. Neil's going to clean it out a little bit very gently. But that's her hoof. That's at the bottom of her hoof. You'll notice our horses do not have shoes. We don't put shoes on our horses. Some people do because maybe their horses are being used a lot. They're being ridden a lot. But our horses are pretty laid back. They don't lead a very busy life. Pickles is going to give him a kiss on the back.
Oh,
and
good.
so there you go. You can see the bottom of her hoof. So that's the bottom. That's her toes. That hoof is really hard. So, yep, it clicks just like that. And it needs trimmed now and again, just like your fingernails. It's actually made of similar material like your fingernails. And, Abigail, we have 3 hens and 2 roosters, which we'll visit with later. And so the hoof, we have those trimmed about every 10 weeks. We have a guy, his name's Brett, and he comes out and he trims the horse's feet and trims just like you trim your fingernails. And they actually are about due for a trim. If you don't trim their feet, they get really long and then they can't walk as well, and that's hard on their bones and their joints. So we do groom our horses often, and this is one of the brushes we use. And we just come across and brush them. You can see they're starting to shed a little bit. They have long winter coats right now. They grow a really thick winter coat. The donkeys especially have a thick winter coat, which we'll talk about them in a little bit.
This is what Leslie does from time to time for us,
Our
too.
good friend Leslie Allen comes out and takes care of our horses. She is a sophomore at Fort Laramie High School. Hi, Leslie. I'm pretty sure you're watching. And I'm sure you miss these guys. She was just out yesterday, and she comes and takes care of our horses a couple times a week and takes care of them while we're on vacation. So thank you, Leslie. So Leslie comes out and she brushes them. You can see they're a little muddy right now because it's just muddy out in their pasture. And we try to keep them clean and get all the old dead hair off. So this is how we brush them, and we try to brush their manes and tails as well. Now these horses are really friendly. They let us do lots of things to them, so we can pick up their tails. We can do just about anything with them. They're very friendly, very social animals. So that's Pickles.
Yep.
So we'll move on to Red now.
You can untie Pickles too and let her go get some hay.
We're going to let Pickles get some hay. Don't you get to pick on Red. She's going to move out, find something else to eat. Oh, she's very interested in you all.
Sniffing the camera. Alrighty.
Something new and
Come on,
interesting.
go on out. Go on out. Good girl.
All right, let's come over here and visit Red. So this is Red. He's about 6 or 7 years old. We're not sure exactly how old he is. He has to have a buddy. So he is a boy. He's actually called a gelding. And if those of you who know a lot about cows, he's kind of like a steer. So he's a boy, but he can't have babies. We got him.
The manes. Natalie Mooger's asking, how long can the horse's manes get?
Well, they can actually get really long now. These guys get blown around in the wind a lot, so they break off. But the manes can come all the way down to here. We do keep ours trimmed a little bit so they don't get too tangly. Otherwise, they get lots of brambles in it, or they get sticks in it. We don't want to see that. So we keep them a little bit trimmed. Their tails will continue to grow as well. Nope, he thinks he's going somewhere, but
Yep.
he's not. You can see Red's is really dusty because it's been dragging in the mud, and I haven't gotten it all brushed out, but they can continue to grow too. We do cut them sometimes, just like cutting your own hair. So like I said,
Yeah, just let Red off the rope.
I'm going to let Red go. They get a little antsy because Pickles is the boss, and she gets to do whatever she wants, and that makes Red nervous.
Yes.
So we'll let him off the rope. He'll probably stay in here for us, though. Red is 6 or 7 years old. We guessed that by looking at his teeth. Their teeth can tell us how old they are. A vet usually tells us what they think their teeth indicate their age. Red is also about 1,000 pounds.
Cole Flouty wants to know how long the horses can live.
The horses can, I was just going to say that. So, horses can live about 30 years. So these guys, Pickles, who loves the camera apparently, Pickles being 16 or 17 years old is about the equivalent of maybe a 40 or 50-year-old person. She's in her prime middle age right now. Red is the equivalent of a college student, so he's an adult. Horses become adults at 5 years old. He's an adult, but he's still pretty young. But he's good and friendly, and that's about as big as he'll get.
And he's what kind of horse? Jessica Eiderman's asking what kind of horse. Hi, Jessica.
Hi, Jessica. So as I mentioned, Pickles is an Appaloosa. Red is a quarter horse, and quarter horses get their name because they were originally bred to run quarter-mile races. So they're meant to go really fast over short distances. And Red's going to head outside. Red has the same parts of his body that Pickles does. And we'll come out and see these guys. It looks like the donkeys are ready to come in for their spotlight show. Come on, Mike.
Janelle, our donkeys, we've been told, these are Mediterranean donkeys, and we've been told that they can live to be up to 50 years old. So we will wait and see how that goes. So we could potentially be 75 or 80 years old and still have these same donkeys.
Yes.
So we'll see how that works out.
Yes, so Pickles has a good 15 or so years yet in her. She's very healthy. She's really interested in the camera, which is just fascinating. And Red, we've got for another 25 years or so. So these are definitely pets that require a long commitment. Horses are are big, so of course they take a lot of space and a lot of food, so they can be expensive from that standpoint, but they're certainly worth it. As you can see, they love attention. They like to hang out with us. They're very social animals. They do not like to be alone, so a lot of times people have more than one animal because the horses don't like to be alone. They get really anxious. They like to live in their herd, and if you try to separate them, they get very agitated.
Move on to the donkeys?
Yes, let's go visit the donkeys. They're out here eating hay with Red. This is a little extra awning we have outside here. We have a couple boxes where we like to put the hay. Pickles is going to try to steal the show again. I didn't know she was quite the diva here.
Make sure
here are our two donkeys. I'll let my cameraman get in a little closer so you can hear me. So these are our two donkeys. This is Lila. She's probably about 5 or 6 years old. She's a Mediterranean miniature donkey. She probably weighs about 200 pounds. She's our smaller donkey. And she is the daughter of Roxy, who is the white donkey. Roxy is 13 years old. We actually know her birthday. And Roxy's a little bit heavier, as you can see. They're also very, very curious. Roxy is Lila's mom, and she's also a Mediterranean donkey, as we mentioned. And donkeys, we've been told, can live up to 50 years. So like Neil said, we could be in for the long haul with these two because they're two pretty young donkeys. So Roxy and Lila are both Jeanettes, or Jennies for short, which means they're females. So a female donkey is called a Jenny or a Jeanette, and a male is called a Jack. We don't have a Jack, but we have two Jennies here because they're both girls. And like I said, Roxy is Lila's mom, and they are rarely more than a couple feet from each other. They spend all of their time together. If you saw the pictures of them, they like to put their heads on each other.
Like so.
Like so. They like to hang out together. They lay around together.
What's their favorite kind of food?
Their favorite kind of food. Well, the donkeys will eat just about anything. They love all kinds of food. But we do give them treats. They really like the grain and the oats we give them. They like apples and carrots. They also like peppermints, anything with sugar in it. And gosh, what haven't they eaten? They've even eaten cake from time to time if we have something extra laying around.
A couple of questions. Xavier Moore wants to know if the horses will come to you when you say their name.
Well, they do know their names, and we can call them generally. If we yell for them, they'll come running, and it's mostly because they really are hoping we give them food. But yes, just like a dog, they know their name. Horses and donkeys are just as intelligent as your dog, your pet dog might be, so you can teach them all kinds of tricks. They're very smart. They can figure things out very quickly. They find lots of ways to get into trouble. Donkeys have a reputation of being very stubborn. And while these two can be a little bit hard to move from time to time, they like to do their thing. It's not necessarily because they're stubborn, but it's because they're very, very intelligent, and they want to check things out before they enter a new situation. They want to make sure things are safe. They want to make sure they know what's going to happen. Hi, Pickles. They want to make sure they're understanding what's going on. And so they tend to hesitate. So it's not that they're always stubborn. They're just very, very careful and very, very interested and curious about what's going on.
Kyle wants to know, how old is Lila?
Lila, we think, is about 6 years old. We're not entirely sure. We weren't here. We didn't have Roxy when Lila was born. So we have to guess about how old she is, but we think she's about 6. So she's very young yet for a donkey. And she loves to have her butt scratched right here.
She does. Just like your dad's.
Just like your dad's. You know what? These donkeys are a lot like their dads. Your dads, I should say. They like to have their butt scratched. They like to eat. They like to lay around and do nothing, and the only thing they don't do is drink beer.
They also like to poop.
They also like to poop. Although I bet if we offered them beer, I feel like they would probably drink it. They like to eat just about anything. You can see that Lila likes having her butt scratched so much she's not even interested in the food.
How about the chickens?
All right, let's visit the chickens.
Get more food.
So over here are some of our chickens. The 3 smaller ones you see here are the hens. They don't have specific names. But the big one back there, that is Kix Brooks. He is one of our roosters. We name all of our chickens after old country music stars. And as a tribute, yes, we did once have a Kenny Rogers, but he did die several years ago. So our chickens are just here for fun. We do get some eggs from them now and again, and I think there were some eggs in their nesting area. But we have this rooster here, which is Kix Brooks, and we have another rooster you may have seen earlier, that's Travis Tritt. And then we have the 3 hens here. They don't particularly have names because they all look alike, and we don't really know which one is which. Yes, this is some of my leftover birthday cake. Oh, yeah. They're really into that. So chickens will eat just about anything. I don't think we should tell the story of Kenny Rogers, Bart Schuster. His ending was not pleasant. He was a good rooster. So this is some leftover birthday cake I had, and the chickens love it. They will eat just about anything. I have yet to find something they will not try to eat. So they'll eat a lot of our scraps. We give them a lot of vegetable scraps. They also eat insects and bugs out in the grass. Over here, that muddy spot out there is our garden. They'll eat our tomatoes. But you can see everybody. See if I can get you a little closer here. And as long as they're not afraid of the camera, everybody's getting in here, getting some old birthday cake. So that's Kix Brooks there, and here's 3 of his hens, and they are very much enjoying that leftover cake that Neil made me. It was good, I promise. It just, we had some extra, and, you know, we got a beak full of icing here. This is pretty entertaining. All right. Oh, yes, I do think, thank you, Kay Zoomberger. Bart means that one time when we got Kenny Rogers, who was a chicken just like these guys, he left for a couple days, and then he came back and was cock-a-doodle-doing at our front door, and I opened the door, and there was Kenny Rogers. Oh, Neil says the cats are down, so let's go. Here's Travis Tritt. He's our other rooster. He comes from Jamie and Kyle Borchers, so Reagan and Carter let us have their rooster, Travis Tritt. That's his name. Yes, the roosters crow in the morning, Kara. I assume that question is from James and Samantha. And yes, they do crow in the morning. And,
egg collection.
Neil's going to collect the eggs. Excuse me, red legs. Oh, here's where our chickens lay their eggs. So we collect these every day. We get about an egg a day from them, maybe an egg every other day from them. And we collect them here in the barn and take them in and eat them. Oh, sorry. Let's go meet the cat, shall we? But yes, the roosters crow in the morning. They actually crow in the evening and sometimes throughout the day. It's not just a morning thing for them. So here are our 2 barn cats. Neil is petting Zero. He's a little older. He's getting close to a year old. And he's not named Zero because we don't like him. He's named Zero because he's named after the Zero candy bar. So if you're familiar with Zero candy bars, they're black and white. And there's Zero. He is a boy cat, so he's a tomcat. And over here is Charlie, which is short for Charleston Chew. We name our cats after candy bars, so that's why we have Charleston Chew and Zero right now. We've had a Kit Kat, we've had a Mars. Charlie is a little bit younger. He's about 6 months old. He really is interested in the food here. And so these guys keep mice out of the barn, so we keep all of our horse feed right here, compliments of Siegel's Country Store in Covington, Ohio. And they deliver feed for us, and we don't want mice to get in that feed, so we have the cats here to take care of that. They also get just normal food too. For the Barhorsts who are asking about what time the roosters crow, they start crowing about 4 or 5 a.m. When it's just starting to get light, and they'll crow throughout the day. They'll also crow a lot in the evening. But yes, they crow very early in the morning, so they can certainly wake us up. Over here, although it's a little dusty and dirty, are our saddles to ride the horses. They haven't been ridden in a while, so the saddles are pretty dusty. But you can see that's where we keep our saddles here on the saddle rack. And we have a few other things to show you here in the barn. Our chickens lay brown eggs, Reagan. So first, this is our barn bathroom. First of all, let's just step out and show you where we're going here. We have a bathroom out here, which is really handy when we're working in the barn. It also houses our well pump for the men in the house. We built our barn first, and so the well pump is in here. We have a couple of really important things in here, other than the toilet, of course, but in recent times, this has become very important. We have, in case of extreme emergency, break the glass, we have our last square of toilet paper. So in the recent pandemic, we have 1 square. Samantha, to answer your question, the roosters do not get up on our roof. They tend to just crow from wherever they happen to be, which is usually our yard or within their coop. So they don't get on our roof. Tim, you can ride the donkeys if you're a small child. If you try to ride them as an adult, you may fall to the ground and nearly break their neck, and that is a question for your brother-in-law, Kyle. We have also in here all of our pets on a board. So all of them have made this board. And to answer Bo's question, there is Ike. These are all animals. Some of them have not, some of them have passed on. So some of our favorites that many of you remember are Maggie. She unfortunately died last year. Ike was one of our former horses. But we have our current animals too, like Huckleberry Larkin. Ronnie Dunn is no longer with us. There's Pickles. So if you come to the bathroom here on our farm, there's Kenny Rogers. He's an island in the stream. This one died a little earlier than the real one. There's Kix Brooks. He's the one that's still alive. All of our animals are on this board here in our bathroom, and you can see how old they were and what happened to them. For instance, Blackie was killed by a weasel. Sorry, Rateman kids. Roxy is still with us, of course, as you know. And we have our pet memorial here. Yes, and Rosie is right here. So we had this little pony named Rosie. She's been adopted by my good friend Lexi, and her niece Maddie takes care of her. Yes, Madden, there's Rosie. Take good care of her. Give her a little pet on the nose. Because we love seeing pictures of you taking care of Rosie. We're glad she found a good spot. So this is our memorial. By the way, Kyle or Jamie, whoever asked about the dolls, yes, we end up with very strange dolls here in our bathroom. It's really just best not to ask questions, but just be prepared if you ever come to our barn and our bathroom.
What do you think next? Treats in the pasture?
Yes, so we're going to give some treats to everybody because they've been very good today. And then we'll head out to the pasture and answer more of your questions. So we have these treats. They're called neigh nibblers. The horses love them. As you can see, everybody's going to come in because they want one. They know the sound. It's like when you open a bag of food for your dog.
Get 'em?
And there's Pickles is going to take hers. Here's Red. He's going to take his. They love their treats. And here comes the donkeys. Lila's going to take hers. Now these are treats made specifically for horses, and here comes Roxy. They hesitate because Pickles is the boss, and sometimes she doesn't let the other ones come up. There they go. But they also like carrots, apples. There's lots of different foods. There's lots of different foods that the horses like. Anything sweet. They like sweet things.
You walking out to the pasture now?
So we're going to head out and take the horses out to the pasture now, and hopefully they'll run around for you guys a little bit. But they do like going out into the pasture. And the donkeys should come too. Neil's going to start the train here. Come on, Red. Come on. Go on. It's a little bit muddy here at the beginning, but we're going to head through the mud. We deal with a lot of mud here on the farm, as you might guess. Sorry for the bad camera work as I try not to fall down. Come on, Red Legs. He's coming. So the horses love to come out to their pasture. They like to run around. They love to graze. Now, it won't seem like there's a lot of grass out for them to eat right now, but they will eat. And here goes Pickles. And I might get clobbered if I'm not careful. Here comes Red. He's gonna take off. So the horses are very friendly, as we've talked about. They would not try to run us over, but sometimes they're big and confused and scared. And so we have to be careful not to, we have to be careful to stay out of their way a little bit so that we don't get hurt. Try to get here before Neil lets them out. And then while the horses are out, hopefully putting on a show for you guys, we can answer your questions. So now we're on the other side. Here come the girls. Our donkeys are coming too. They're very excited. Not quite. So the horses should enjoy heading out into the pasture. We'll see if they take off or not. The donkeys are excited, if nothing else. There goes Red. When we get them out here in the pasture, they like to run around, stretch their legs, take a lap. Sometimes they'll roll. A little wet here. We'll walk out with them. And you can see right away they want to look for any kind of grass that they like to look for grass. And sometimes they'll run out and stretch their legs. Red likes to race, so sometimes he'll come along the fence. Come on. There he goes, a little stretching of the legs. He's excited about getting to eat some. You can see how they eat grass. Notice how she's using her teeth. Oh, well, she's gonna be a star again here. But she uses her teeth and her lips to rip the grass out. So she see how they use their lips.
Talk louder.
And their teeth to eat the grass. What kind of questions you guys have? Maybe Neil can ask me some of the questions while we watch them out here graze.
Yes, Amy, we do have boots on. Kay's got her nice polka dots, and I got my cool man boots on.
They're camo because, you know.
Yeah, if anybody has any more questions, we'll answer them now. Otherwise, we'll maybe wrap it up here.
You can probably scroll back through some of the stuff to see what questions we missed.
Yes, Rachel, I have been shocked by the electric fence.
As have I.
Both of us have it. It's not terrible. Oh, we get a little chasing going on. It's not a terrible thing when you get shocked by it. It's more of a surprise. And it's more of that for the horses too. That way if they get shocked, it doesn't hurt them. It just keeps them within the boundaries. That way they know where they need to be. So sometimes, Amy, yes, people call us when they need a home. That's how we got Pickles. One of my coworkers, mother-in-laws, couldn't take care of her anymore. That's how we actually got Pickles, Lila, and Roxy. So, and a lot of the chickens. A lot of friends and family have called us wanting to take their chickens. So, Emily Webker would like to know if our horses enjoy giving rides to kids.
Sometimes. So we don't ride our horses a ton. We ride them occasionally. But they do sometimes give rides to kids, only when we're around.
And how much room, Zoe Pruder wants to know how much room they have to roam here.
So out here you can see everything in the white fences. They can run around. So this is probably about 2.5, maybe 3 acres. The woods, they probably have about 4 acres. And there's another pasture on the other side that's probably 2 acres. So if everything was open and they could reach it all, they'd probably have about 7 or 8 acres to run on, which is plenty of room for them to run on. And if they get out, which they have from time to time, they don't try to run away. They like living here. They like living in their barn. They don't try to escape. Sometimes they get out and they get excited and they'll run and they'll look for good grass to eat. But they really don't try to run away. If they did get out, they would probably just hang around the barn and wait for us to come and feed them.
What was one of the donkeys' birthdays we knew?
That's Roxy, the white one. Her birthday is in May. I think it's May 10th, maybe, 2006.
There you go, Megan.
May.
Megan Borchers wanted to know that.
Yeah,
So
Roxy was born in 2006, so she might be older than a lot of you kids watching. Pickles, too, is probably 16 or 17 years old. She's probably older than a lot of you guys. She's been around a while.
Vincent Ryan wants to know how much do the horses poop and if we have to clean it up.
That's a very good question, Vincent. If they poop out here in the pasture, no, we don't clean it up. But when they poop in their stall, we clean the stall out about once a week, and we put it on a pile and occasionally get rid of that pile. They probably poop, I don't know, probably 3 times a day, mostly after they eat. And I've never weighed it, but it's a lot. Just know it's a lot.
Brandy wanted to know who takes care of the animals when we go on vacation. And Presley wanted to know if she can help.
Okay, well, Presley, a young lady named Leslie Allen takes care of the horses when we go on vacation. But sometime when we're here, you are more than welcome to come out and help us take care of them. And see how we feed them and see how we brush them and clean them up. So I invite you, when you're allowed to come out again, to come out here and visit with them and see them in person.
The Idermans want to know how many horses have we had at one time?
So we've had 3 horses at one time. Some of you have met our old horse, Maggie. Maggie was about 27 years old and she died of old age.
You had her growing up.
I had her when I was growing up as a little girl. We've had 3 at once along with the 2 donkeys. So we had 5 here at one time. And that's about as many as we can have that we can fit in the barn. Too many more and they wouldn't all fit inside anymore.
Jeremy Morris would like to know, where's Cisco?
Cisco. Oh, we're getting a roll.
Getting a roll.
See Saved by Pickles rolling.
Oh, look at that.
So
That's got to feel good on the back.
They like to roll like that. It scratches their back. It just feels good. Horses don't lay down a whole lot. They do lay down to sleep, and they do lay down sometimes just to rest, but it's usually for very short periods of time, maybe 30 minutes.
Shake it
or so.
off.
Oh
yeah.
That feels good. Oh, yeah.
And when one horse rolls, a lot of the other ones like to join the party. So we'll see if another one does here in the next couple minutes. But
yes, and now all that brushing we just did is over with. She's nice and muddy again, which is okay. So Pickles saved me from the question about Cisco.
yes.
Cisco is our dog that we no longer have. He was old too, so.
Yep. Holly wants to know if we're planning on getting more animals.
Well, maybe someday. We probably won't get any more horses because they are bigger and take a lot of space. But maybe someday we'll have the donkeys, since they're both girls. They could both have babies, and maybe we'll have baby miniature donkeys someday, which Google them on the internet. They're really adorable. Check them out.
Yes, Google miniature donkeys for sure.
Yes. Well,
it doesn't look like we have too many more questions, Kay.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. We hope you had fun. This will be saved on this page so you can watch it again if you'd like, or if you missed it. Thanks everyone. We really appreciate all your questions and coming out and visiting us on the farm. This summer sometime when it's warmer and drier and hopefully we're no longer quarantined, maybe you can come out and see them in person. So from me and Neil and Roxy and Lila and Pickles and Red and all the chickens and the cats, have a great afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Goodbye.
Happy quarantine.
Bye. Happy quarantine.